All right, let's go over this box plot outliers and applications assignment. So what we have in this first one is you need to find your outliers. So I show that work here. I went ahead and took that data. I'm sure I put it in my calculator to get that 5-number summary. Then the IQR came out to be 32 with the lower fence of -39 and the upper fence of 89. Now I come up here and I see, is there any data below the lower fence? So in order to be an outlier, it's below the lower fence or above the upper fence. So anything below -39, no. Anything above +89, no. So there are no outliers. All right, and the next one, we have some true-false questions here. So let's take a look at these. So this one says about 50% of the male students weigh between 160 and 190. And okay. Anyway, from here to here, that is just one quartile. So that's only 25%. So uh, to be 50%, it would have to be the whole entire IQR. Okay. Next, about 25% of the females weigh more than about 130. So here is about 130, and that is not 50. Oh, that says 25%. So yes, that's true. The median of the males is about 162. Yes, I think that is about 162. The next one, the male students' weights have less variability than the females, and that is not true. I can see that the spread of the females is much less, and then the top 50% of males are heavier than all of the females. So that would mean from here up is heavier than all of the females, and that is true. And finally, the middle 50% of the females' weights are more varied than the middle 50% of the males. So that's asking you, or it's stating that that IQR is more varied than the male's IQR, and that's false. More spread out, of course, is more varied. All right, on this next one, you were given this information, and what this gave you down here was the Q1, the median, the Q3, and then we had the pieces of data below and above those Q1s and Q3s. So what I did was I put down here all of the all of the 5-number summary, and that then allowed you to get the IQR and the fences. So this should have guided you on how to do those on those two sets of data. So in red, I'm showing all of the information for Boxplot A. And so you can see it had a lower fence of -3.5. So then that means that those two values were lower outliers below this lower fence. Here, the upper fence is 8.5. So that right there is above the upper fence. So we have one upper outlier. And so that looks like this if you graph it. Now, I should have labeled those values. I didn't, but I should have. All right, and then I did the exact same thing for Boxplot B. I calculated the 5-number summary and the IQR and fences, with the upper fence being 65.6 or and a half, the lower fence being -42.5. So there was nothing above the upper fence or below the lower fence, so there were no outliers. So there we go. We've got that going on right there. Now, on the next page, first it's asking about which one is showing better gas mileage. So the first question has each part has different criteria. This first part is showing the criteria being the various proportions of data. Truly, I think additive B is the one that on AP, this was a free response question, they wanted you to go with. Because as you can see, based on this, at least the top 25%. So even more than this top 25% of Boxplot B is higher than, had better gas mileage than all of that Boxplot A. Okay, now it is desirable. Boxplot A is desirable because it's much less varied. So we would say that's much more consistent. Okay, but meeting the criteria of the relating to the proportions, that's not the case. Now, part 2 wants to know if your criteria is based on the one that has the highest average, then which one would you choose, additive A or additive B? Well, I think that it's easy. You understand by now that when you have so many upper values here, you are pulling that average up. Just like if you had a 0 in your of your grades, it would bring your average down. So many upper values will pull the average up above that median. So we would say and speculate then, and I think it's a fair speculation, that additive B would have that higher mean. So it would be the best. All right, so that is all of your assignment on outliers and the box plot applications.